Well, you've done it. JoJo's character making his first JoJo's video. What an actual meme. Got 130 plus videos before we finally got here. But are you ready to be transported back in time to an alternative universe where horse racing along with supernatural abilities collide in the wildest ways and are considered normal? This thrilling and action-packed manga follows the story of our main boy, Johnny Joestar, a former horse racing champion who starts his dangerous journey just to win the Steel Bull Run race and uncover the secrets of a mysterious artifact. Throughout this part of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, we'll encounter a diverse cast of odd characters, each with their own unique powers and goals. From the insane to the surreal, nothing is off limits in this twisted world. So without further ado, let's get this video to 5k likes and subscribe so I know you want to see the rest of this amazing series. Yes, settle up, grab your steel balls, and let's ride. So just a quick little background on, I guess, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure before we move forward, as you'll need a little bit of an understanding before we move into the actual part here. The 7th part of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and potentially the final act, probably not no Inaraki, takes place in an alternative universe that has no connection to the real universe from part 1 to 6 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And if you're wondering if the ending of part 6 created the Steel Bull Run universe, then no, you're just dead wrong. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure seems to be classified into trilogies with a few strings holding these parts together. And as we know, parts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are the original stories, with parts 1, 2, and 3 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure focusing on the original story of the Joestar bloodline with a rivalry against Dio. Though if Dio hadn't actually put on that ancient artifact mask in the first place, then there would have been little to no trouble at all, and probably just a scuffle between the oldest ancestors in the family. Which is just in my head canon from what we obviously see at the end of part 6. When it comes to parts 4, 5, and 6, they're based on the arrowheads that provide stand abilities, followed by the journeys of specific JoJo descendants. Plus, you know, part 5 is just goated because I exist in it, and not gonna lie, I might even exist in part 7 right now, facing some sort of like terrible doom, who knows, I'm probably just floating around every old anime universe. But at the end of the day, it's now time to talk about the 7th part, SPR, the part that began a whole new trilogy. So Steel Bull Run gave rise to a new beginning for the audience as well as the creator of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Hirohiko Araki. There have been a ton of changes between parts 6 and 7 of JoJo's. The manga covers went from weekly Shonen Jump to monthly seinen manga. The story of Steel Bull Run also itself takes place in a new universe, as I've said just before, and our main boy, who you all know as the massive yoked up rugby player Johnny Joestar, is now a former horse racing champion who after a tragic accident finds himself crippled and unable to walk. He's bitter, he's troubled, and haunted by his past failures. But don't worry folks, it's not all doom and gloom, so sit back and relax as we unravel the 7th part of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the Steel Bull Run. So, as we do, kicking things off then in a random Native American village, a few men inform the chief that the man named Sandman has been keeping the white man's books hidden in his tent. Funnily enough, this is considered a crime, which is a big no-no in his place, which, you know, makes sense for the time period and everything. So obviously the villagers are quite pissed and start chasing him down on horses. However, the man with the prime 1800s riz manages to implement the white man's running style into his technique to outrun them on foot. Screaming at him that his crimes are unforgivable, one of the tribesmen tries to attack, but Sandman bizarrely dodges and uses a horse's kick to launch himself into the air where he can safely land on a rock formation. While climbing away from his pursuers now, a mysterious hand is seen materializing out of Sandman's arm, allowing him to get away with ease. Having escaped, Sandman climbs to the top of the rocky mountain. Once arriving there though, he's immediately pummeled by his sister, who demands that he apologize to the village and explain that he never meant to insult the tribe. But, you know, Sandman's got a completely different idea. He wants to study the white man and their culture to protect everyone. The basic concept they live in is money now. There is no such thing as the ancestors' land anymore, and in his eyes, it only belongs to the person who holds the most cash. But things get even more interesting when Sandman shows his sister a sphere with some depressions in it, while pointing out that he thinks it might be made by the white man. The sphere's dug so deep into the sand as if a horde of people ran across the area. Blown away with the revelation, his sister just started wondering why he never mentioned that the white dude was nearby. Sandman reveals to her that he was the only guy here and wasn't trying to look for gold mines or to steal anything. His sister though is completely confused by this idea since she knows the white man and his intentions, but Sandman tells her that the white man had been running and jumping all around. Investigating the footprints on the ground, he jumps up following the path of one jump and remarks that the white man must have jumped at least 8 meters in one leap. Plus, he pointed out an unfamiliar hand marking, which to him proved that something else is going on here. Sandman states to his sister that it's time he leaves, and on that note, he brings out the white man's newspaper, which recorded a headline text that there's a steel bull run race happening, with a grand prize of $50 million. To him, that 50 million USD, that beautiful buckaroos, is enough of the white man's money to buy back his ancestors' wasteland. Elsewhere, there's a guy named Steven Steele who's in charge of promoting the race. He's also known as the badass boss, and he's not exactly having a good time. He's dealing with a ton of complex issues, and when a man reports the problems to him, which includes a kid falling into a pile of feces and an over-admission of culturally diverse entrants, he freaks out and yells to him to take care of it, as that is literally his job. As the assistant goes to leave, Steven points out that the press conference will begin in a moment and that they should head off in a second. Finally, the door closes, leaving the two people in peace, when all of a sudden Steven jumps into the arms of his young wife, Lucy, expressing his doubts about whether he can handle the race, but Lucy reassures him. 1 second guys, let me just search something here. Araki, what were you smoking when you started this arc? How many times does 14 go into 53? We'll come back to that, alright? A little while later, Steven is seen holding a conference and spilling all the details about the Steel Bull Run race. The race is going to start at 10 AM on September the 25th, 1890, and their goal will be to make it first from the Pacific San Diego beach all the way over to New York, which is a whopping 6,000 kilometers. First place, as we've just discussed, will receive $50 million US, second will receive $1 million, third will receive 500,000, fourth 250k, fifth will receive 120,000, and so on up through to 10th place, plus, you know, like additional prizes. For more info though, he points out that they can actually read the rulebook. But right now, the only condition for the participants is to be over the age of 16 years and pay a participation fee of $1,200 per person. And here's where it gets even crazier, guys. The players cannot change their horses or machines at all during the race. But due to the Second Amendment, everyone has the right to bear arms. This is just for the reason that, you know, who knows who might have to fight off some natives or wild people. And, you know, like, plus there's, you know, also dangerous animals out there. And as long as their intent isn't criminal behavior with their weapons, then everything else goes. Steven, then back at it again with some more insider info, drops some of the star riders in the upcoming race. So I'm guessing that we gotta remember all of these names for, you know, like the upcoming parts of these videos. Like I've said in the past in other videos, these are usually my first read through of the series when I like start doing the videos and whatnot. So surely these are the big players that like we have to remember. They have to be. Like first off here, we've got the legendary Sahara Desert Conqueror, who's done it not once, not twice, but traveled across that area 3 times. The man himself, Avdol. Next up, Wyoming's only ever anime character, Cowboy Mountain Tim. From Far East, Dot Han, who's actually a descendant of the infamous Genghis Khan that decimated Eurasia. And last but not least, we've got the one and only Diego Brando, commonly known as Dio. Even though he has lowly commoner blood, he was raised by royalty and is a total genius when it comes to horse racing. Yo, so back to that question that I asked everyone before. How many times does 14 go into 53? You know, I just want to go back to it. Did everyone figure it out? I want to know, because this reporter's also thinking the exact same thing. He asks Steven about his goddamn wife, but he ain't having none of it, and he quickly moves on. And I'm just sitting here thinking like, what the hell is going on with Steven right now? Like, what in the world is he up to? Over at the registration booth though, a tall man who turns out to be a man of great importance called Gyro Zeppeli drops some coins on the counter at the clerk's office and signs up for the race with a fat grin on his face. Suddenly though, the sneaky guy tries to steal these random looking balls that he's got attached to his outfit. Quickly noticing him, Gyro changes the dude's polarity by pushing the palm that he tried to grab the balls with upwards. Then continuing to push, he eventually forces the ball thief to kneel. With the dude in pain complaining over this whack interaction of his, the clerk informs Gyro that he's $20 short on his participation fee. Realizing that the top hat fellow sneakily pocketed a few coins, he forces him even closer to the ground and demands that the fodder loser give him his coins back so he can enter the race and win. But just before we do go any further into JoJo's, and because Araki has ruined our minds, I've got something I think all of us are going to vibe with on a spiritual level here. Shout out to Aero Labs and their brand new adult RPG, Cherry Tail, for sponsoring this video. Cherry Tail is a game where you, the massive Devil King, have been summoned to another world by the beautiful lewd princess Cinderella of the Northern Kingdom to help save her from the hordes of enemies that surround her and embark on a journey to change the world together. The world of Cherry Tale that you've been thrown into is a mess with human beings who are obsessed with ambition and desire, and kingdoms which are constantly fighting. Your goal is to unite all of these factions through, should we say a little bit more than just good old talk no jutsu. In this riveting world, you will find beautiful girls from various myths, like they straight up got Sukuna and hit him with the Uno reverse card. Girls from novels, fairy tales, and classical stories who all stand with you to overthrow the divided and distorted world. So if you are interested, and oh my lord, I've maxed out my account, so you should be, Cherry Tale is available on both iOS and Android devices. Because of the lewd content though, it's not available from the App Store or Google Play. Instead, players download the game directly from the Aerolab site through my link down below. So enter my promo code Diavolo before the 31st of August in your game profile settings to unlock exclusive in-game prizes. So make sure you either scan my QR code on the screen or click the link down below to jam out on this brand new adult RPG. New day, new beginnings. While laying there, an old man tells Poco Loco about a job offer from their landlord to plow a new field, but Poco Loco refuses since it's swampland. He believes that starting next month, he'll be at the happiest point in his life for 2 months because of what a fortune teller told him. Picking up the paper, he then sees an advertisement for the Steel Ball Run race and on a whim, decides to join. As Gyro is preparing to participate in the race by finishing off the entering process, a crowd begins to form around him. A thief tries to steal Gyro's participation fee, but is caught by the onlookers and is taken to the sheriff. Gyro pays off the rest of the money and is just about to leave when another thief tries to provoke him by stealing a gun off a bystander. Staying absolutely as beautiful as a cucumber, Gyro asks the onlookers, who ended up mauling over the dude, to give the thief's gun back, saying he won't even press charges. But this ain't no regular thief. Oh no. This dude comes at Gyro with a gun, trying to provoke him into using his special balls on him. The thief tries to reach for the gun again, but then backs off, claiming he was just joking. The sheriff then approaches, and as he questions what the thief and Gyro were doing, the thief picks up the gun and points it at Gyro, intending to shoot him. Annoyed with this freaking weirdo now, Gyro unleashes his steel balls, hitting the thief in the shoulder before he could shoot. A weird, rounded pattern is then formed after he gets hit by the steel balls at such a high speed, leaving everyone in the crowd shocked. Again, Gyro warns the thief to let go of the gun. Watching the G himself then stroll away, the thief gets annoyed with what just happened and goes to shoot him. However, the gun is weirdly turned around on himself, causing the dude to end up committing kermicide. But that ain't the end of the story. Some of the onlookers ask the sheriff to arrest Gyro, but the sheriff refuses, saying that no laws were broken. And as Gyro is leaving like a Chad, our curious boy Johnny starts to follow him, intrigued by the steel balls. He tries to call out to him from amidst the crowd, but ends up getting blended in amongst them. Not giving up though, Johnny sneakily tries to touch the steel balls, even though he's in a wheelchair. Gyro warns him not to touch them since they're still spinning, but Johnny just says nah and had to do it. Touching the ball for a brief moment, his legs then started to move. After that first weird incident just occurred, Johnny is still trying to figure out why he's come all the way to San Diego Beach and what kind of changes he was expecting. And let me tell you, Johnny has seen some terrible things in his life. Johnny Joestar, the main protagonist of Steel Ball Run, is a former jockey who became paralysed from the waist down after a tragic accident like we've been over. You see, when Johnny was just 5 years old, he started horse riding and was really good at it. The first thing he noticed when he rode a horse was the beauty of its muscles and the sound it made. It was like music to his ears. They called him JoJo or Joe Kid. Johnny was born into a wealthy family with a long history of horse racing, and he showed early talent and passion for the sport. When Johnny was on horseback, he got everything he ever wanted. Everyone flattered him from below and brought him riches. Politicians and royalty from around the world just came to meet him. However, his father's strict and abusive coaching methods combined with his own insecurities and self-doubt made it difficult for him to fully enjoy the sport. As his skills improved over time though, his father acknowledged his talent and he became quite popular around America. He even won the Kentucky Derby at just 16 years old. One time, he went to a millionaire's home and the guy's daughter and her friend started taking their clothes off after seeing him. Even though everyone called him a rookie, he thought he could race his horse faster than everyone else. As Johnny then recalls some more of his past, he remembers a particular incident where he went to a play with his girlfriend. She urged him to cut the line since he was famous and could easily get away with it. However, when a man nervously complained about what happened, Johnny paid off the 2 guards to have him escorted out, causing the dude to become outraged, and because of this, the man returned only to end up shooting Johnny in the back. After fainting and falling to the ground, Johnny awakened in a dark hospital room where he sees blood being taken from his leg by an orderly. The suspicious nurse or orderly, I don't actually know what it is, informed him that he was just taking out some of his blood and taunted the poor Johnny for being abandoned by his friends and father. In agony, Johnny cried out, realizing that he'd been abandoned by everyone he loved. Needing to shut him up, the nurse shoves a newspaper in his mouth, allowing Johnny to see the headline about the Steel Ball Run race predicted to start in around 2 years. Which is, it gives us a good timeline of like how long Johnny's been incapacitated for. As Johnny is still trying to uncover the truth about his past, he turns to Gyro now for some answers. However, Gyro seems more focused on his own goals and becomes angry at Johnny for interfering with his plans. In a moment of desperation, Johnny tries to grab Gyro's steel balls, but he quickly manipulates Johnny's limbs and hangs him up on the roof of a nearby house. Gyro threatens to cut all of Johnny's limbs off so he won't be able to walk again, showing just how dangerous and powerful the man can actually be. Despite the danger that he's in though, Johnny remains determined to uncover the truth about the spin and how it affected his legs. He also wants to participate in the upcoming Steel Ball Run race so that he can keep a close eye on Gyro and try to unravel the mystery surrounding him. As the sun rose on a new day, 2 racers exchanged astonished glances. The Steel Ball Run race had attracted an astonishing number of participants, far exceeding expectations. They realised that only those with specially bred stamina horses stood a chance of reaching New York. The racers felt a mix of determination and uncertainty, knowing the immense challenge that lay ahead of them. Over with our main gangster Gyro, who's getting ready for the race though, making sure that he has all of his items prepped and ready to go. I actually freaking died when I saw this man choosing his pink teddy over the scissors. Anyway, as he's about to step out of his tent, he randomly notices that Johnny's wheelchair is lying on the ground near the fence of his own tent. Walking up some more and noticing that Johnny is being dragged all over the place by this horse, he then hears the continuation of the initial conversation we started off with here. Apparently Johnny has been up all night trying to get up on the horse, but what they find even funnier is that he was sold a Dobbin horse. In their eyes, it's an old horse that is unrideable. Then, on top of that, throughout his struggles, Johnny somehow managed to send a massive splinter through his calf muscle. So, things don't always go as planned, I guess, do they? But here's the thing, Johnny is so damn determined to ride that horse, even if it means risking his own life. He's been threatening that if anyone tries to stop him from achieving his goal, he'll commit kermicide. Some folks are saying that he's gone completely bonkers, and honestly, who can blame them? The way he's doing it, he could get stomped on by the horse at any moment. With all of the dudes suddenly rushing over to help him, thinking that he's in trouble, they ask if Gyro agrees with them. Obviously, Gyro thinks that it's practically impossible to ride a horse like that, but if he did manage it, he'd be beyond human. With everyone here being near like the sign-up village that we saw in the earlier stuff, a random guy approaches and asks Gyro where exactly to head. Obviously, you know, like sending him on his way. Over at the registration building, it's revealed that that man, our boy, Sandman, had finally made it to the Steel Ball Run race after getting away from the villagers who absolutely hated studying. Initially, the old silly clerk looks down on him for giving him mere cloth instead of the white man's money. I just love this part, shows how baller Sandman is without him even like realizing it. But anyway, the clerk makes it clear to Sandman that the participating fee is $1,200 US. All of a sudden though, Sandman blows on the cloth that he had handed to the clerk, literally blowing him away with what he sees and off while revealing the emerald gem hiding underneath. Thus, and because of this, obviously our man's participation is completed. The clerk hands him his change, but since Sandman is such a badass, he asks him to keep the change. When the clerk informs Sandman about his horse, he says that he'll cross the continent using his own 2 feet and not a horse. So, with 30 minutes left until the race finally begins, Steven Steele is seen doing his best to create hype by showing everyone the trophy that the winner will get. This special trophy is frozen in 3 million year old ice which was harvested from the South Pole. He also declared that, you know, because he's got mad scientists on the job and everything, this ice would be melted by the intense passion of the riders, and hopefully as the first riders cross the line, the trophy should be available from it. When Steven's speech is finally over, he makes a complete fool of himself though, joking about how the ice just melted a fraction by the passion he put into his speech. Lucy, being 14 and groomed that she is, and obviously not knowing any better, clapped her hands for her man while no one else even gave it the time of day. Steven is an actual manus, dude, like it's crazy. On the other hand, all of the riders are preparing for the race. The 2 folks from, like before, notice that there is something odd about our MC's horse. It keeps walking towards Johnny. It also licks him as he tries to get up. Our main boy still has a special obsession with Gyro's balls and says that regardless of the situation and intensity of the race, he'll make sure to discover more and more about the steel balls and the spin effect. Gyro exposes that a hint has already been given to him, and he knows it already. Now, with only 2 minutes that are left before the race starts, Johnny asks his horse to lick his face again. Then, as the horse bends down, it miraculously flicks him up onto his back. Finally, he made it on top of his horse like an actual champ. I love this section of panels right here, it's actually so damn hype. Like when the horse leans down and flings him onto his back, it's like, hell yeah, man. As he sat on the horse, ready to go, he concludes that there is hope in the spin effect of the steel balls. So that there brings us to the very end of the first part for my JoJo Steel Ball Run Explained series and its first arc, the San Diego Beach arc. I'm freaking loving this right now, and I'm not going to try and spoil myself on any of the outcomes in the story, so I better be careful with some of the comments down there, because I know some people are going to be like, Valentine does this or whatever. I know the characters' names, and I know like some of the abilities, so I know that like stands exist, but I don't know everything that happens. I just want to do that so that I can include that initial burst of excitement I get when I read or watch anything to do with the series. And the next part, we'll get right to it with the first stage arc, and I literally mean the first stage of the Steel Ball Run race, which entails a grueling 1500 meter dash. It's actually going to be slightly different with this series here. Instead of massive arcs, say, like with Jujutsu Kaisen or other big series, Steel Ball Run has 24 arcs throughout the 96 chapters that makes up its story. So for some sections of the story, I might merge 2 parts, but I'm thinking that with this, I'm going to try and keep it as faithful as possible. So around 20 or something Steel Ball Run videos to come over the next, probably? I would imagine so. And then I'll merge everything at the end as per usual. So if you want to see more of this series and just more from me in general, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and push this video to 10k likes or something. It'd be great to know that you guys are super keen to get the next part of this series. And again guys, make sure you check out Cherry Tail through my link down in the description below or scan the QR code on screen. But for now, it's been your professional degenerate Diavolo, and I will see you all in a bit. Bye.